Well, good morning, everybody. I've got three things to say. First of all, thank you for being here at 8:30 in the morning, and thank you for all the smiles. Thank you very much for the welcome. I've really enjoyed just moving around the school. I'm going to get my camera out and take lots of photos and tweet later on. I think this is a fabulous learning environment. And then the third thing to say is, if you came to have a good listen and relax, sorry, this is going to be a working session. Just 2 minutes of, half a minute, about Curate. About a third of what we do is do large-scale research and do systematic reviews of research about stuff that's going to make a difference for learners. About a third of what we do is we turn that into tools and resources for teachers and school leaders to use day to day. And about a third of what we do is help schools connect staff learning with student learning. And what we're going to do in this session is I'm going to start with a really quick case study of a research-based, research-rich approach to innovation in literacy. In literacy in every subject across secondary schools and across primary schools. And then you're going to do some work of unpacking that case study. So it's not just a pretty story. I'm hoping you're going to be listening to it to try and spot the things that you think might be crucial, that new research is really helping those teachers work towards student success. And then we're going to fill in the details from the research, picking out some of the things you're looking at. And we're going to think about next steps, and if we've got time, we'll finish with a fun metaphor. But before we do anything else, it's pointless being here if you haven't got pupils in the room and in our minds. So I want you to think of a pupil, and if you're a school leader not teaching at the moment, or even if you are teaching and you're thinking hard about how you're supporting your colleagues' learning, think of a teacher you want to support, where you think that one of the big literacy building blocks might be holding things back. We've only got 50 minutes, we can't think about whole classes and whole cohorts. I think of one. 50 minutes we might come up with an amazing idea about how we might help one student, one learner who might be a teacher in your context. And I've just listed there what research says are the big building blocks of the kind of literacy that means everyone can write brilliantly. Phonics, the sounds and letters, fluency, how fast people can string things together in meaningful ways, vocabulary, both sides of it but also technical vocabulary in different subjects, comprehension, and I forgot to notice the missing comma here, there wasn't a prize, someone else was in it, text structure and grammar. So just quick think, which of those things do you think is your hunch might be getting in the way? Now we're going to do a vote. Okay, not a vote. We're not in favour of this. I'm not asking you to vote for problems in phonics, obviously. But let's just get a sense as a student to think about. How many people think they've got students with phonics issues getting in the way? 1, 2, 3, very small number, okay? How many people are working and thinking about students with fluency as an issue? More, significantly more. How many people are thinking about vocabulary being an issue? Oh, lots more, okay? Comprehension? Yeah, about the same, a bit more perhaps than vocabulary. Spelling? Yeah, similar numbers again. Text structure? Fewer, okay? Grammar? Lots. Okay, so in the room, we're all thinking about the whole range of literacy. That's good. So when we're working a bit later on, we're going to have that full range of student issues being thought about in this room. If we just added up all the years, yes.
Can I just ask, what about reading?
Those all are the components of reading.
Well, when they can't read.
Yes. Well, if they can't read, the first thing the research would say is missing is the phonics. So these are the building blocks towards effective reading and effective writing. So reading is a synthetic skill. It pulls all these things together. That's a great question. Thank you very much for asking. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. So I'm going to give you now a case study, and you're going to think about unpacking what you think might be key ingredients, and also noticing anything in it that you might use. And this is a case study from Benwood School. It appeared in the TES Research Corner, with a snapshot of it about 3 weeks ago. It's a teaching school, and it was a participant in the Close the Gap Test and Learning programme that we designed for the National College of Teaching and Leadership. And we did it also as a part of the EEF trial. So we worked on this analysis in different schools. And it starts with twin track support. There are 3 days of training and learning sessions spread over 6 weeks for the target teachers, where they do some work in between the sessions with each other and with the school champion. And the school champion then keeps the support going over a 15-week period of intervention. So it's quite an intense, quite sustained process. And those sort of the training sessions focus on, I'm going to explain what exactly and practically what each of these components is. But first of all, in order to tackle literacy, what this intervention has to do is think about 6 of the most vulnerable learners in relation to literacy in the class. Don't try and think about all class. Think about 6 as a kind of Trojan horse. I will not let the madness about the prevent agenda and what happened in those schools in Birmingham, the whole Trojan horse thing as unspeakable, and it perfectly good metaphor. That if we think about a subgroup of people deeply when we're professional learning, we can do a lot more for them, and that radiates out to the rest of the class. But if you're wanting to learn that stuff deeply, sampling or coding in. So close case analysis of the needs of a small number of focus groups. Then it involves helping teachers select interventions, small things they can do often within other lessons to boost literacy and reading and writing across the course of their learning in different subjects that get reinforced in different subjects. And they choose those from a research-based menu of high-impact study. Many students can learn from many approaches to teaching and learning, but our most vulnerable students always need us to be focusing on the ones that have got highest impact for them. So this is a menu that makes that narrows that down to the ones most likely to have an impact. And the teachers are also involved with the champion in thinking really strategically, not just about which intervention match the needs that comes out of the close case analysis, but also planning, tracking progress to adjust that, and also how intensely to do it. And the aim is to close the gaps for vulnerable learners. In Bentley Wood, they would take 2 year 7 and 2 year 8 classes. They started with something called the NGRT tests run by GEL tests, which are adapted diagnostic tests. So the students start at an age-related question, and if they don't get that right, it'll ask them a simpler and a simpler one, or ask them a more complex one. And it can go all the way down to can they match a symbol of a dog and a photo of a dog, and all the way up to GCSE. So it's a really powerful diagnostic tool for the teachers. And they use that with a closed case analysis tool that we show you in a minute to help select the focus students and to think deeply about their needs. And then they choose the interventions from the menu. And in Bentley Wood, it so happened that they found a very strong clustering of need. I'll show you how that works in a minute. So they chose whole class interventions to start with, and then worked out of that to small group or one-to-one ones where it was working for them. And the interventions they chose was one from the menu that was about passage comprehension, and it worked with having pupils or students whose reading age was quite advanced and pupils whose reading age was struggling, and designing a skilled mentor role for the more able students to embed their knowledge and give them some more control over it, working with students who are earlier on in their comprehension journey, and had very structured intervention for them. They also had chosen an intervention which coupled a very specific writing frame that was focused on comprehending at the comprehension at a passage level. It might be any kind of passage. It might be a description of an experiment. It might be all kinds of things. My guess is it might also be a visual image and a piece of music, but a whole new meaning. But it is coupling self-taught and writing. And also a homeschool class. So what does all this look like? So it's dead simple, this. Really simple. It's incredibly effective. So for your sample group, you've already got quite a lot of building blocks. So a colleague here was asking a really smart question about reading and seeing how those things build together, between reading and writing. So it looks at all of the different units. So for Anna, you can see that there are some, so a star, an asterisk, is a serious difficulty where other interventions have been tried. A square is something where there's a small need to fix. Not a big issue, it's probably fixable if we just focus on it. And the triangles are significant issues where we need to make quick progress, where we can start. So you see here that for Anna, there's quite a few serious issues. You get the picture summarised, and you can think about the interventions and what tier, whether it's, so tier 1 would be one-to-one, tier 2 would be small group, and tier 3 would be whole class. And then you can see that if you read down, you start to see strategically that around comprehension there's a need for a whole class focus. This is not the closed case analysis for Bentley Wood. This is just one we use in the training from a different school where we've had to do that. So this is something that gives the teachers and the champion a chance to take a strategic view of what's getting in the right literacy. This is what the menu of intervention looks like. So for each of the interventions that the research says are likely to be high impact, there's a description of it. There's a description of whether it's suitable for whole class, small group, one-to-one. There's a short description of the intervention and a whole detailed one behind it. And then there's what are the likely impacts you can expect. So this is the tool the teachers use to help them choose the intervention. And alongside that, there are regular meetings where we think, is this PALS thing really working? Are these self-taught microphones really working for our target people? If not, do we need to do it more intensely, more often, or more often? Or is it so good now we can try the next layer of intervention? The teachers work as a team to flesh out the interventions for their particular subjects and activities that they work in different subject contexts. And they access key underpinning expertise from elsewhere in the school. So if you've got students, as many of you have, with phonics issues, who in the school is really confident about phonics? One school we did this with decided that nobody in the school had really strong brittle phonics. And the Senko, who was the champion, chose to get herself seconded for 3 weeks as a high-level teaching assistant to the local primary school, because the local primary school wanted their high-level teaching assistant to have a chance to work in the secondary school on transition. So they both got 3 weeks of intense professional learning, and so Stacey came back really confident about A, phonics, and B, that she got a network of professional relationships she could join. So that's what I mean about accessing key information. In lots of cases, it will be in the school, but somewhere else in the school. So the role of the champion is helping get people together. And then the other thing that was important about all this was getting parents and carers on board. And our response to intervention does that by providing high status holiday tasks and recruiting the parents to that and celebrating them when they're completed. And that sets really high expectations. The point about this is, this intervention is happening and your child is going to be able to do this with you in the holidays when this has worked. So it's a vision of success. So here's it's the most beautiful set of resources built around Kensuke's Kingdom, a Michael Morpurgo book. And there's things for all different subjects in it. This is an example of one where you can see there are guidance for pupils and parents and carers at the top. So they're asked to draw some expressions on the faces to show how people are feeling, and then to write a sentence explaining how you use your hands to give those messages. It's actually quite a difficult but fun thing to do. And so there's a whole pack of these kind of activities, and lots of the schools, they've been lovely plastic folds and stationery to go with it to draw some sentence signs around it. Oh! There. Now, they did have really strong results. The reading comprehension narrowed, the gap narrowed, the focus group made more than double the expected progress in the months. And the rest of the class and the whole, and the year as a whole made small, statistically significant progress. And the target students also made significant progress. Double the expected progress in comprehension, 2/3 more than expected in 4 months for reading ability. So, what's interesting or unusual about that? So, exchange talk to the neighbour Anything that's interesting, unusual, that you'd like to have that you haven't got in there, that might be handy for thinking about extending literacy, reading, fluency, phonics, all those things in your particular context. Then when you have to think about that, then start to talk to your neighbour about how that might apply to the people you have in focus. And I've just given you some examples there. So with that little grid of closed case analysis for your most vulnerable literacy learners across all of the year groups, so that all the pupils have got the same, all the teachers have got the same knowledge about literacy for that cluster. Would that be helpful? Might be, might not. It would be a very simple thing to do in place. Do you know which? Are you really confident that you know about literacy block? We were working with CU Head School, and they thought there were no phonics and fluency issues, but actually when they got down to it, they decided that they started to realise that pupils who look really skilled and confident in lots of practical subjects and science and music had a reading age of 7, like incredible street smarts. This was a EAL student in year 10, and he just got sufficient skill to mask the big literacy building blocks. This is great news because it meant that it was kind of easily fixed. But you know, how do you know which building blocks are really in the way, and how do they affect learning in different subjects? So let's have a buzz now. with.
So, I think this looks amazing. My question is, does it consolidate? Do the students stay at that level? Because our experience is work really hard for one kind of student. But once that intensity wears off,
Okay, we don't have follow-up tests 6 months later, but these tests were all 3 months after the intervention finished. So I can't promise, but I can tell you Bentleywood and most of the other schools we work with have applied this across other subjects and classes, and the primary schools just works just as well. Well, we started in year 6 and now we've done it in year 5. And some of the primary schools, there's a case study on our website, and now using it across year 4, 5 and 6. So the schools feel it's sustainable. I don't have very hard evidence, but the test results are 3 months after the intervention. They're not on the end of the intervention. Okay, good question though. Some other thoughts? Colleague here.
I like the idea of controlling the risks.
Some of the primary schools did come across that as an issue, and just one parent got cross, saying, "You're expecting me to do your job." But when they listened their way in, what they discovered was that the parent had got serious literacy issues too. But by making it feel fun and by making it a whole family thing, so people often got siblings involved as well, mostly teachers have had success. I wouldn't say it's been easy, but mostly I'd say it's had success. Colleague here.
We discussed the fact that reliability, so how can you find out what your books are missing? We, the same amount of time, was great back to work, but our objective would be able to identify that as a student and talk about practically what that means. We said that we would feel really confident, and then if you analyse that whole school, because everyone had exactly the same meaning of those words. Like, it's phonics just about whether they can say words or whether they can read words, etc. We would need something that.
Very important point. So with Causeway, when I was working on this last week, in a whole school session, we were working with those big building blocks. We started out with a match, just a really simple matching card game, but the point of it was to understand what the technical definition meant for music, for design and technology, for art, to try and build a shared language about it. And that was what, at the end of the day, many of the teachers said they found most revealing, most helpful. What they were saying was they had no idea, for example, that they might be able to be working in the slipstream of what's in effect literacy work in PE. They were kind of all feeling a bit they had to tackle it on their own, and by building some shared definitions and understanding how, for GCSE in PE, you have to be able to apply literacy skills under pressure, and you've got to get the writing. And they have particular issues because they've got lots of students who are really good at PE, but getting them. So understanding what different subjects each had to contribute to was something they got excited about. But to do that, they had to slow everything down and really get under the bonnet of what A, it meant technically, and B, it meant different subjects. So I think the points are brilliant. Colleague here. I don't know is the answer, because what I think, the NGRT test, there are others as well, what they can do these things anyway, others. But we think the gel tests are very user-friendly, so long as you don't do as one school did. So this is an online, you can have a report out for students, for subgroup students. It's an amazing thing. But I went into one school, actually it was the school I'm chair of, and they copied all the results out onto a piece of paper and were actually, you don't need to do that, you can do it all for you. But they are very user-friendly, and the Cairns have ones, the Simple Star that does it as well. The data sets behind that mean they are reliable, But students will be able to scaffold their literacy through their knowledge of the subject or the skills of the subject, and above all, their street smarts about how to read the classroom as an environment. So they know, many students, skilled disappearers in literacy, know how to watch when the teachers caught the eye of a student, so that's the time they put their hand up because the teacher's already really decided who's going to answer. They've got all those kind of strategies for masking this. So for me, the issue is having a really interesting conversation between the subjects about the particular students. And starting off with a small group, then you will find your own skilled professional judgments and answers to that question. Anyone else got any other points? It's magic. What I would say is, this is about how you transform things in fast timescale for a particular group of students. And that puts teachers then in the position to be confident about making a judgment for the whole class. I would say, early on, you should try and focus on using it in a small group, because, thinking that whole class, that grid, even that grid will start to look big. Okay, that's what you're dealing with in your professional judgments all the time. And this is, I think, about slowing it down. But once you've gone through it in a cycle for a particular group, then you're in a really good position to start thinking about, well, are there some other groups that I'll focus on? Shall we focus on the skilled disappearers, the kids who really know when to duck? I think that's then a judgment. But you'll see what the evidence says about the answer. I think we're probably ready to. Oh, go on.
Sorry, just one last question.
Don't say sorry.
Can I ask you where the interventions comes from and the evidence for these interventions that you should do?
So, response to intervention is used in widespread ways in other countries, and not very much in this country, though it's beginning to use special needs, like in Northern Ireland too. We did a randomised control trial for the Education Endowment Foundation on response to intervention between, the first one was after SATs and before the end of the summer term for year 6 to try and get everyone to level 4. And we had amazing results, but we were only allowed to do it after SATs to the end of year 6. That was a condition of the funding. And the online testing was for the penultimate day of term for the control group, and it fell over. And nobody was going to do online testing on the very last day of primary school, and so we didn't have a big enough control group for it to be statistically reliable. But we're now involved in some more follow-up trials to try and test that a bit further. So strong experimental evidence abroad, some convincing evidence here, but not definitive randomised control trial. Neat eyes dotted across T's yet. The interventions came from systematically reviewing all the literacy interventions there are against the target blocks, and so the evidence in the response to intervention toolkits, that the evidence is tracked out for each one, and in each description of each intervention there's a hot link to all the other research evidence, so that it's different for each intervention. Okay, I'm going to move on and try and apply what we learned there to this business of research-based innovation. So when people do research, they're trying to get the world a bit like this, to understand it free spinning. They're trying to generalise. They're trying to create a kind of knowledge and understanding that's likely to be true in all of these different classrooms we've got here in this room. And so they remove texture and detail in order to try and figure out what's reliable. And that's well and good, and it's important. But when you're using research, when you're doing research-based intervention, it's much more like this. It's human. It's people doing things. So the world, the globe gets held by some human hands and some human relationships and all the messiness, and when you hold something, there are bits of it you can't see. And this is a bit what's going on when we try and move from large-scale research findings. That last question is a perfect segue into this. So, there is some large-scale evidence about responsive intervention, but we were trying to figure out what that means in England, high-stakes testing and so on. And so you have to think about what can take that free-spinning role into this human-logged, active, responsible, accountable partnership with students that we have. And in Cure, we think of that as we think of it as use of research, that's why we exist, and we conceptualise it, we think about use of research as work-based professional learning. And I think this is a useful metaphor. Here today is an electricity pylon. When you think of a power system going across the country, you see loads of electricity pylons, don't you? And that's what you see. It's kind of not the point. The point of the electricity pylons is the power in the land. The point of this is what you're going to do with your students in future. The point is the power. So you need good pylons. And one of the things that I think is really helpful are tools. And so that close case analysis grid and that menu, that's what I mean by a tool that scaffolds research-based innovation. The innovation comes from you taking the tool and using it with your colleagues to take forward the learners of your students. So, structured work-based professional learning lies at the heart. We've done systematic reviews about practitioner use of research, and we've done systematic reviews about continuing professional development and learning. And one thing you need to pull together is a combination of aspirations for pupils. We all started with thinking about student struggles. We won't really tackle that well until we got excited about what it will look like when they're not struggling anymore and they're succeeding. That's the point of the Kensky's Kingdom. And the thing is that when we do the systematic reviews about use of research, we do the systematic reviews about continuing professional development and learning, not just the pylons, but the wires too, the professional work-based learning verifications. We get to the point here, that's it. So, the reason I've got the goose there is it really I think what source for the goose is source for the gander. And so this goose is saying, no, I'll have what he's having. So you, as professional learners, if you're going to put all this stuff to work for your students, you need the same things for you. And there's a little leaflet on our website against that link called Source for Goose, and at the back there's a brilliant source which does work for goose, apple, ginger, chili, coriander, yogurt, I can't remember what else. But it also works really well with duck and not roast food. So I'm just going to take you quickly through what we know about effective work-based professional learning. We've just published a new review funded by the Teacher Development Trust. First of all, it needs to be developed. It's substantive change for students and for teachers. It needs to be developed and sustained over time, usually on average 2 terms plus. And it needs to be a sustained rhythm, like the electricity pylons, of regular bite-sized episodes following an initial piece of instruction. An electricity pylon followed by iterative learning in relation to students. And that's much better than intense hits. So in RTI we had 3 days strung out over 6 weeks, followed by 15 weeks, where the school champion started to take over the support of professional learning. So what matters is that we keep the cycle of learning going through. Do review, do review. Do review in the light of evidence. And having a chance to look at that in multiple contexts. So the bit about doing it in different subjects is really powerful. Not just seeing whether the literacy is working in X subject, because the student's knowledge in none of the subjects carrying them, but whether it works in lots of subjects picking up the and you can find the summary full report there. You as professional learners, so you're thinking about your colleagues learning or your pupils learning, students learning. First of all, one size absolutely fits no one. Right? You already know loads of things, so why would the same thing work for all of you? Professional learning that works for students needs to be personalised for the students and personalised for the teachers. So your starting points need to be recognised and built on. And one of the best ways of doing that is helping you think not just what do your students need and your pupils need, but what are your aspirations for them? What's it going to look like? If your learning moves the way you want it to, what will their learning look like? And then you can plan back from that. You do need to develop a collective sense of purpose across those RTI teams. There gets to be a lot of excitement and a lot of shared commitment, joint planning and so on. And you need to explore and challenge the things you think you already know and believe, and refine that in the light of what it means for different kinds of study learning and so on. And that needs to happen side by side with practice. We're often a bit frightened of this word, theory, but our practical theory is knowing why things work, and understanding the underpinning principles. If you don't understand the underpinning principles of RTI, it's going to just look like a whole load of extra work to you. So having a chance to understand why it might work and think about how it works for your students. And being relevant matters, of course it does, it's blinding the obvious. But having an offer of continuing professional development and learning that's highly relevant on its own isn't enough. And neither is being a volunteer. This stuff works just as well for consultates as for volunteers. If it's the kind of iterative cycle, if teachers have a chance to take risks together and to learn together through the lens of their aspirations for their students. And if all that's lined up into something that's meaningful and that you can fit in smoothly and in and around the day job. The kind of approaches we do, the evidence suggests you need some external input. You need something from outside the day-to-day to help you understand what more is possible, to challenge orthodoxies, to do that in a way that's really supportive, to expand sense of possibilities, but also to build capacity. Any individual piece of learning about literacy should be building everybody's skills in professional learning and use of research-based innovation too. Everything should be six purposes. So you know that about your classes, and this is really about for research-based innovation by teachers. And when we're thinking about the mix of support we need to build around something like RTI, somebody needs to carry in-depth knowledge about the content. Somebody needs to provide you with clarity about those 6 building blocks of literacy. Now we've tried to embed that in the tools in responsible intervention, but Stacey, who I talked to you about, she went and did that by getting herself seconded for 3 weeks on a job swap with an HLTA and lots of ways of doing it, but you need the depth of concept knowledge. You need someone to have thought hard about the continuing professional development learning processes as they exist and can be wrapped around the day job. And somebody needs to be providing support about how you evaluate impact, and that's built into responsible intervention. There are a lot of tracking progress tools for the champions to use embedded in responsible intervention packs. And people need peer support. This above all, if I risk looking silly because I'm trying something new, and Phil risks looking silly because he's trying something new, we'll keep each other going no matter Ofsted, no matter what, because we start to, well, if he's done it and we're meeting for coffee, I better make sure I've done it too, or I'll be wasting his time. If we both take risks, it speeds up trust and makes it a lot easier to keep learning for our students going. Really, really important. Reciprocal vulnerability is a fantastic way of lengthening our arms as teachers with our students, and it's a fantastic way of lengthening our arms when we do professional learning. Formative assessment is absolutely key for teachers, but why wouldn't it be? No, if it's key for our students, why wouldn't it be key for ourselves and learners too? And that there are assessment for learning tools are built into the RTI pack, and I hope I'm going to give some sense of that. But they're in each of the interventions really, so I don't think we get a chance to look at that much. And so the team needs to keep on revisiting professional learning conversations on their own do not work for students. Might feel good, but they don't feed through into benefits for students unless, 2 things, we mess things up a bit, we disturb the status quo, we put ourselves in a position to be surprised by our students' learning. Because it's the surprise that deepens the conversation. Thing 1, mess things up a bit, try new things, try and let go of the coping strategies and the handbook that was that make things feel safe. Secondly, make sure that the conversations are all focused around evidence about how people are responding. So, revisiting evidence. One of the things that's really helpful is giving teachers a chance to design an assessment for learning tool about phonics. Or fluency turns out to be one of the really powerful things to do between subjects. We often just think students will get better. But if you listen to, we've got PE teachers here, but they expect practice to get people doing things more fluently and to be able to apply them. TPOP, I think, thinking clearly under pressure or something, is a thing. So fluency, getting students' literacy skills fast enough in the environment of the subject, you can do it like a sports game. It's a practice. It's just a thing that's useful to do. So getting teachers in to design assessment for learning strategies to see whether things are working really help them with their professional learning. So assessment for learning in professional learning is an important, we offer tools and resources, it's a learning process. An output is the fabulous assessment for learning tools you've created, and all of that makes it a lot easier to evaluate the impact of CPD. We know from the research that we need to set out not just for you to be able to do something as a teacher, but to know why you're doing it and how it's likely to work for different students. And we're contextualising interventions for different contexts and subjects is really important. And school leaders and champions at lots and lots of different levels need to create the conditions for that. They need to provide resources like response to intervention ones. They need to model professional learning. The most powerful thing your school leaders can do is be explicit about their learning and model it. And they need to challenge. And challenge can come from exchanges with other schools. You're being here from different schools. They come in all kinds of ways. But no one thing works. Nothing works on its own. It's complicated. What matters is how you align them and how well you do them. So it's kind of the banana principle. What doesn't work? Generic, pedagogic, whole CPD, we're all just doing pricing skills. End of. You have to contextualise this stuff for subjects and for particular groups of learners if teachers would have a chance to make it success of their students. Telling teachers what to do, this is our new approach and here are the resources, without giving them time to figure out what that means in their departments, in their special groups, that special group, or whatever. Failing to provide a strong focus on aspiration for people, getting lost in the teaching and not thinking about what success and learning look like. And providing time and lots of support without giving teachers a chance to make it make sense for them and their students, for particular students. So quick last 2 minutes on what that might mean for your pupils. Don't talk, because otherwise you'll miss the fun metaphor. So just make a note for yourself of the student you started out with. What's the question in your mind? What might you be thinking about for the rest of the day? Very quickly, just for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to finish in the metaphor. Right, those of you who are scientists will tell me I might be getting the biology of this wrong, but I think it might help you remember this. So, as I understand it, caterpillars work, they move by clenching all the muscles and then letting go, and there's an explosion of energy, and then clenching the muscles and letting go, and that's how they make progress. And that's how professional research-based innovation works. We hold things still to look deeply at the evidence about our particular learners that we've got in mind and how our teaching is wrapping support and aiming those students learn. That's how we make progress. Hold things still, look at the evidence, question it with other teachers, think about it from lots of different angles. That's how we make progress. And what I'm saying is that the caterpillar turns into butterflies. If we keep that going, but if we don't just do our own research, not naive discovery, we also make sure we're building on large-scale evidence from other places and best practice evidence from in our own schools to take things forward. So I hope that's going to stick in your mind and give you a starting point for the day and make research-based innovation feel strong and positive, and I hope it's got you excited about using that for literacy. Thank you very much indeed.
I just say a big thank you to Philippa on all of our behalf. I found that session to be simply quite inspiring. The fact that you've been so pragmatic to take a concept such as literacy, which we talk about so much, and break it down in such a pragmatic way, of 6 building blocks, and encourage us to use close case analysis, grid and menu. I just think the ramifications across all our subjects potential is huge. I'm genuinely excited about how we might take this forward, not just here, but I'm sure all colleagues in the local schools. I'm intrigued as to, I'll admit, I have a question, Philippa. I'm absolutely intrigued by what the banana principle is. Is anybody else in the room who feels the same as me? There's a certain age of person going, don't drift away now, stay focused, stay on task. What is it?
Way that you do it.
Fantastic. I think many of us sort of chuckled quietly at the notion and could recognise that I've never heard the title "skilled disappearer" before. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic. But I do agree entirely. I think if we can have more risk taking going on, but at the same time based on evidence-based research, that would be superb. And I think the idea of reciprocal vulnerability, encouraging us to take risks, is fantastic. I can't thank you enough, Philippa. I think you've given us an awful lot to think about, to go away and to work on. And on behalf of this institution, I'm absolutely committed to taking this further forward and using an external provider to help us to do that. So thank you so much. Join me, please. Thank you.